Hi, I'm here at the Gamblers General Store with Bob Dancer. Bob is one of the foremost experts in the world on video poker. He has been a professional video poker for many years now. You still do it. You have a series of books on how to play video poker. Your most popular one was $1 Million Video Poker, how you won $1 million playing video poker. You have software out there, a whole line of video poker products. And can you tell us your background in video poker?
Well, I started in '94. I moved to Vegas in '93 as a blackjack counter. It didn't take me long to have casinos tell me don't do that anymore. So I went to Gamblers Bookstore, which is where the name of the place we're taping this at is the Gamblers Bookstore, but it was on a different location on 11th Street off of Charleston. Looked very hard to go find books so I could make a living without getting a job. Came across video poker and bought everything there was. At that time, there was books by Dan Paymar, Stanford Wong, Bradley Davis, Lenny Frome, and read them all, decided I could do better than that, and I've been in video poker ever since.
Okay, and what was your most successful run in video poker?
Well, there was a $1 million 6-month period. So there's only been one of those. Damn it. But I'd started 7 years earlier with a $6,000 bankroll and moved up. One of my books, an autobiography, tells about that journey. It's not a book on how to play the hands. We have other books for that. It's how to win. What you talk about with the casinos, when to change casinos. In that book, we describe when to bribe change girls. Lots of bankroll considerations, lots of things.
Okay, now, can you explain? A lot of people don't understand. They think that video poker is the same as a slot machine. But video poker actually is a game that can be beaten, unlike a slot machine, which is basically pure luck. Now, can you explain why video poker can be beaten?
Yes, and slot machines with progressives can be beaten. There's skill in slot machines with progressives, so it's not all pure luck. But in video poker, in most states, the cards are dealt fairly. What we mean by fairly is every unseen card has an equal chance of showing up next. So the ace of spades is just as likely to show up next as the 7 of clubs or the deuce of hearts. That's what we mean by fair. On the front of the video poker machine is a pay schedule. How much you get for 4 of a kinds, how much you get for full houses, how much you get for flushes. There is a code, and over time you learn that when full houses get this much and flushes get this much, this game returns a certain amount. The best common version of jacks or better is 99.5%. A common version of double-double bonus is 99% even. A common version of deuces wild, well, there's a lot of them. There's lots of different deuces wild. And so you learn what these return. Then you need to factor in how much the slot club pays. Slot club is from the casino. You put in a credit card kind of thing, and it gives you points. Sometimes they pay you back in cash. Sometimes it is in free play. Sometimes it's in the terms of monthly mailers. Sometimes your points can get you free meals and rooms. Every slot club is different. And then casinos have promotions. It might be in January, if you hit a royal flush, you might get a logo jacket. Or you might earn drawing tickets for a drawing that is worth so much. Or there might be point multipliers, where instead of giving, say, 0.2%, you would get 0.4% or 0.6% on a particular day or a particular week. Those are all examples. You need to add that all together. You need to find the right game, know what the slot club pays, do it during promotions, and add it all up.
Okay, now one thing though, please. So, but this can't be done at every casino. It can only be done at some casinos, correct?
You can add it up at every casino. If it doesn't add up to more than 100%, then you are playing with a house advantage and you have no long-term chance. If the house has the edge, you are going to lose. Maybe not today, but over hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours, the edge is going to grind you down. The very first principle of successful gambling is make sure you have the advantage before you play.
Okay, so now the topic of our video today is how to become a professional video poker player. So I guess you've told us what's involved, but now when you first started, I believe there were better video poker games out there. They were more liberal back then. But through the years, the casinos have tightened up the machine. So I guess for the people out there, one of the first questions is, is the ability still there nowadays to become a professional video poker player? Number one.
Okay. Short answer is yes. Everything you said was true with conditions. When I started, the games were much looser, but the knowledge to beat them wasn't widely available. Today, through books and software and websites and podcasts, the information on how to beat the game is widely available, or at least relatively widely available, and the games are tighter. So back then and today, probably the top 5% of players are successful at it. If you could take today's knowledge back to the early 90s, yeah, you'd clean up real big. But we didn't have today's knowledge back in the 90s. So with today's resources, yes, you can still eke out a small edge. There are relatively few players who make, 100,000 or more a year. There are some, and they're relatively few. There were more of those back in the 90s.
Okay, so it can be done. So now, if someone's out there and they're interested in this, what is the first thing? And you had mentioned the various payback percentages on the game. So I guess number one is what? To find the best game with the best payback percentage?
Payback percentage is one factor. If you want to learn, you basically have to start studying. This is not supposed to be an infomercial, but basically, if you want to become a professional video poker player, Bob Dancer is required reading, period. So there's a number of different products. With Steve's permission, I'll go through what they are briefly, and then I'll finish. May I do that?
That's fine.
All
Show
right.
us what you got. Show us what you brought along, Bob.
We have strategy cards for 9 different games. These are 6-sided, meaning trifold, and are written on both sides. On each of the cards, there are 4 different strategies. They're from raw beginners to recreational to basic to advanced. The advanced is, for most of these games, is 100% perfect. For players who play once a month, the recreational is probably good enough. For players who play on a regular basis and the money they play with is important, the basic strategy is important. You can be a professional learning only basic strategy. For those of us who do not want to give any extra pennies to the casino, that we don't have to in order to do this, then you want to get into the advanced strategies. The advanced strategies add slight bit more, but they're tough. They're complicated.
Okay, so first you got to find the right machine, and then you have to use the proper strategy.
You do have to find the right machine, and the resource for that is probably vpfree2.com. VP as in video poker, free as in you don't have to pay for it, and the number 2. So VPFree2.com lists every casino in the country with the good pay schedules. Generally, it's 99% and higher. Sometimes it'll say nothing worth playing. Sometimes there's so many good machines, they go up to 99.2% and higher. And so you get a good idea of what games are available. So you're going to need to play games in your area or decide only to play when you come to Vegas or some other casino center. So which games are in your area is the first bit of research you have to do. VPFree2.com is probably the best resource for that. The information there is not 100% accurate, but it's pretty good, and it is better than what most of you could figure out by going through and checking every single machine. There are lots and lots and lots of games in a casino. There can be even a reasonable sized casino might have 600 or 1,000 video poker machines, but some of those have 20, 30, or 50 games on each box, or even more. So checking all of them for pay schedules is very, very time consuming. VP Free 2 does it for you.
Also, one other thing, about the VP Free 2 is that it will tell you where in the casino those machines are located. So it'll say, yes, these machines are in the casino, but it'll tell you, like, go over to the center bar or go over by the Players Club to the left of the Players Club. So it'll tell you where the machines actually are in the casino.
Yes. Now, so once you have that machine, I showed you strategy cards. We have winner's guides for 6 games. These are about 120 pages long. When I teach my classes, the beginner class, we cover the first 30 pages. In the basic class, we'll cover the first 60 pages. The last 60 we would only cover in an advanced class. These give the same strategies as the strategy cards, but they give lots and lots and lots of examples and tests. Every interesting hand that you could have a problem with is going to be here. You're not going to be asked how to, if you're dealt 4 aces, whether or not you hold them. That we don't ask you that in these books. But when you have 2 high cards and 3 cards to a straight flush, there's lots. Sometimes you hold the high card, sometimes you hold the 3 cards to a straight flush, and it depends on lots and lots of different things, and it depends on different things in different games. So those are the kind of problems that people have trouble with. So we give lots of examples of that.
Okay, one thing we need to make sure that people understand is that the strategy will change. You could be playing jacks or better, but if the pay table changes, it can change the strategy. So every time there's a change in the pay table, the strategy can change.
And does change. There are, if it pays 6 for 1 for the flush or 5 for 1 for the flush, there's a number of things that are different about the strategy, depending on whether you're playing it at the beginner level or the advanced level. At the advanced level, there's lots of differences. At the beginner level, not always so much. So I wrote a number of books. The first one was an autobiography. Steve mentioned it very nicely, $1 Million Video Poker. This was how I started in 1994 with a $6,000 bankroll. 7 years later, was able to make $1 million in 6 months. This was Book of the Year, Casino Player for 4 years in a row, and tells you how to do it. We talked about this a little bit earlier. My latest book is called Video Poker for the Intelligent Beginner. This covers every game, basically. In the first part of the game, I'll just open it up kind of at random. On this page was Bonus Poker Deluxe pay schedule, and on this side was Super Double Bonus pay schedule. So all the games have their own page as to what makes Bonus Poker Deluxe different than Bonus Poker, or what makes Double Double versus different than Super Double Double. And it also gives you the pay schedule and how much it's worth. So this will help you recognize the value of each game. This book also talks about slot clubs. It talks about using the software proficiently. It talks about doing video poker tournaments, which is a different skillful activity than playing video poker in a casino. Somewhere along the way, I decided that what the world needed was video poker sex novels. Not sure why I decided that, but we have Sex Lies in Video Poker and more Sex Lies in Video Poker. These are, the first one was based in year 2000, mainly surrounding the Golden Nugget in downtown casino. The second one was based a few years later at the Palms Casino. The video poker in here is very realistic. It's both books describe how smart players deal with changing slot clubs and limited information.
Plus a little erotica in there.
There is some erotica in there. I've had more compliments on these books from females than I have from males. But if you're a deacon at a Baptist church, you probably won't want these. But we have two of those. The last thing, which in some sense is the first thing, is software. Because I sell software and there's others out there. My software, Video Poker for Winners, works on PCs. It's a Windows-based program. It does not work on tablets, does not work on Apple products, does not work on Android products. There are other software products that do. You need software if you're going to play video poker successfully. The biggest two things it does is tells you how much the game is worth. You can enter in any pay schedule, and it will tell you what the game is worth. And otherwise, it allows you to play and corrects you when you're wrong. If you have not used video poker software, you have no idea what a bad player you are. You can have the strategy sheet, and you can think you're doing everything right, but until the computer comes back and says major error, which it will do probably half the time when you first start, even if you think you're pretty good, you have no chance to get a lot better. Software is relatively inexpensive, and there's several good brands out there. Video Poker for Winners is a good one. Wolf Video Poker is a good one. Win Poker is a good one. And most strong players have all of them. We sell them for $30, $40, or $50 a piece. But for people who are putting thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars through the machines a year, relatively small price. They all do about the same thing, but we each have our own specialties. So there's a lot of studying. You cannot watch a 15 minute or a half hour podcast and go, well, now I'm a professional player. It doesn't work that way. You have to get so you can play on the computer and with like 99+% accuracy. The edges you have in casinos are very small. They make it so that somebody like me, who's been doing this for almost 25 years and doing it at a high level, I can do barely okay. I can play with a small edge and succeed at it. But if you don't have my skill level and you aren't close, they're going to have the edge over you. You can get good with practice. You can get good with study. But it is not an easy road to hoe.
Okay, so let's go and recap a little bit. So number one, it is still possible to become a professional video poker player, in your opinion,
yes,
nowadays. Okay, so you got to find the right machines. You got to use the right strategies. You got to find a good players club that gives you good benefits to try and bring that return over 100%. And you need to, when I go back to saying the right strategies, you need to practice with software, ideally, so you become proficient at. And one thing when you were showing your software, I thought of two things. One, which I don't think you mentioned, was that you can print out strategy charts from your software.
Yes.
So you don't necessarily need to go out and buy 20 different strategy charts. If there's a particular game you want, you can put in the pay table and then print out a strategy chart and bring it with you into the casino. And the other thing that I like about your software is you can play the triple play, 5 play, 10 play, 50 play, 100 play games on there, which are a lot of fun. So you have that on your software, which no one else has.
That's correct. And although triple play through 100 play has a fun factor, the strategy is not any different than single line. However, multi-strike, which is a 4-line game where you pay for all 4 lines at the start, and you only get to play the second line if you get a winning score on the bottom line, and the strategy changes all 4 levels, that's strategically very different than regular video poker. Nobody else has that. It's one thing Video Poker for Winners has.
Oh, you have multi-strike on there?
We have
Oh, I
multi-strike.
didn't even realize that. Oh, that's a fun game.
And the other factor we have that is relatively rare is a bankroll calculator. We can, both short-term and long-term, we can look at how much bankroll you need to go out and play an hour of the blah, blah, blah game for quarters. Or we also have a long-term bankroll, which is how much you need to play the game forever. Now, obviously, you're not going to live forever, but it gives you a sense as to what the swings can be. And one of the things on playing it forever is you learn very quickly if the return is under 100%, the probability is 0 that you're going to succeed at it.
Okay, now let's, so we've told the people the basics of what they
Yes.
need to do to try and become a professional video poker player. And let's just finish up with this one last question. Now, how much money are they going to make? If they're a quarter player, what could they expect to make? If they were a dollar player, what could they expect to make? And maybe throw in if they were a $5 player, what could they expect to make?
Way too many variables. For the guy listening in Kansas City, it's going to be different than the guy listening in Tunica, which is going to be different than the guy looking at Salt Lake City, who there's no casinos in his state. It depends on exactly what casinos, exactly what games, your competency, and
Well,
so,
if we say you're a professional video poker, you can make a living at it. If you want to make a living, say you want to make $40,000 a year, I would imagine it's going to be a lot harder if you're a quarter player than it is if you're a dollar player or a $5 player, assuming you had a favorable situation where you had an advantage over the casino. The higher your average bet, the more money you're going to make.
yeah, when he says quarter players, he's usually talking about 5 coins at a time, which would be true for single line. And as a quarter 5-coin player, $1.25 a hand, it is essentially impossible to make $40,000 a year. The games do not exist that you can do that. If you were playing quarter 100 play, which is $125 a hand, well, yeah. But there are probably a few hundred people in the country who average more than $40,000 a year. Not a big number.
So it's a difficult thing to do.
It is a difficult road to hoe. It's easier in Las Vegas than it is in most places. There are better games in Las Vegas than there are. But you have a lot more competition as well. There are a whole lot of people in Las Vegas playing. They have classes here. I teach 2 10-week semesters a year at the South Point. If you're going to come to town, check out bobdancer.com and to see if there's any classes around going on at the current time. So there are gambling radio shows. I have one called Gambling with an Edge. You can check that out at gamblingwithanedge.com. So there's lots of information here in Vegas that isn't available in most other places. So yeah, there's a lot of successful players here, but there's more unsuccessful players here too.
Okay, so again, to recap, if you follow these procedures, it is possible to become a professional video poker player. Difficult to make huge amounts of money, but even if you were a recreational player and just wanted to sort of get an edge over the casino, that's a lot easier to do than to try and become a professional and make a living off it.
Yeah, if you're talking about making at least $5,000 a year net profit, now we're talking about thousands and thousands of players are doing that. Mm-hmm. So, yes, you have small edges, and you get free or meals, free hotel rooms, various benefits. So, yes, on a On a $5,000 or more basis, there's lots of them. On 40,000, there's fewer. 100,000, there's probably less than 20.
Okay, now if people want to get more information about you and your products that they've seen here today, what's the best place to go to for that?
Thank you for asking. BobDancer.com and GamblingWithAnEdge.com. And check out our radio show. It's geared for people who want to be better gamblers.
And I listen to that show myself. It's a great show, and you'll enjoy it. So, Bob Dancer, thank you very much for being here today and spending time with us.
Thank you, Steve.